Hello and welcome to another episode of the Next Iteration podcast. I'm here with Channs, and we are going to talk about the benefits that ADRs, architectural decision records, provide when a team adopts it. In the previous episode, we've talked about what ADRs are and what good ADRs look like, and we want to now talk about all the significant benefits that it provides. So let's dive right into it. Chan's, I suppose the biggest benefit adopting ADRs would provide is that it makes it possible for the team to come up with better decisions, gets them to be more
Yeah.
confident of the decisions they are making. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, Chirag. Um, like so in my project management journey and earlier in my tech leadership journey, ADRs quickly became a sensible default for me. And like you said, the first obvious benefit was the improved decision quality. We associate quality with code, with tests, with infra. Um, but if you sort of get the same concept of decision making, there is certainly a change. Why? Um, because of the structure, because you're structuring your decision making process, and that actually implies you're elevating your thinking around the decision making. That will naturally lead to better decisions. And the act of bringing in the team, the act of recording them, act of making the knowledge explicit will naturally uh, make you think better and make you more objective. And also, it's kind of a safety net. We talk about safety net in the context of tests and code and, let's say, feedback loops. So you can think of this as, if I was a team member, if there is a agreed upon structure, then you're empowering people to give more time to the quality of the decision than just making it. So that way, certainly this structured approach helps us quite a bit, Chirag.
Right. And then the simple act of just making sure that you are following a simple structure and reminding yourself that with every decision, we will think through what the background context is and what the
Yeah.
constraints are and what the goal is very clearly and what the options are and pros and cons. It's just all of that structured, lightweight, but structured documentation that you are forcing yourself to create results in better thinking as well. Now, of course, it like you were just touching upon, the other thing about ADRs when they are done well is that they are done collaboratively um, and multiple people get involved. And so that's the other benefit that it creates, right? It creates reason and creates like a platform for enhanced collaboration once the team adopts ADRs for each of these significant decisions. The a subsection of the team comes together and thinks together, collaborates on it together, and that creates that leads to great discussions within the team and everybody feeling heard and all the ideas getting um, coming up to the fore for better decision making. But the other thing that happens as multiple people get involved in the decision making process is also that finally at the end of the day, whatever the decision is made, there is just more alignment, more understanding of
Mm.
why we are choosing that and why it is the right thing to choose at this moment for this team. So that enhanced
Yeah.
collaboration and alignment within the team is another uh, significant benefit. And then it does extend to beyond the team as well, to stakeholders and to
Mm.
other collaborators in the rest of the organization. Do you want to elaborate on that, Chance? How does it extend that alignment to beyond the team?
Yeah. So you spoke about internal alignment, Chirag. However, a team is much bigger than that. Even when we talk about agile principles, we say that like the customer and then even and to an extent, representation of the end user is also part of the system. So that way, whenever you are making any decisions, and architecture is kind of semantics, right? It could be technology, it could be process, it could be people, It could be business decisions also. Whenever you're making a decision, not most, all things are interconnected. Like if you, it's like a butterfly effect. If you change something somewhere, it will have a sort of this domino effect on other things. So your choice of a particular architecture or a language, or it could be a design pattern or a data store, would would need a very wholesome kind of a thinking. Because sometimes, which front end framework do you go for? It could not depend upon how fast or how current it is. It could also depend upon whether you have people with those skill set in the talent marketplace for you to hire. So there are a lot of like well-rounded thinking that comes into picture. So you would need to involve more stakeholders. Like a quick example was, we were making a decision, and that was about this content, and we needed to have a legal opinion. So we couldn't just make it in isolation. We had to bring in the legal team and the legal head and then work with them. So that way, and in some cases, you will generally need funding. Like one other sort of small example that comes to mind is when we were pivoting on a digitization strategy. A lot of cost had gone in for about 12 months on a particular approach, and we didn't find it to yield the benefits that we had initially thought of. And now to switch from that, it's a decision, but it cannot be made sort of internally. You need to bring in the extended team and stakeholders, and this ADR structure made it natural, and it felt like everybody's participating, because often leaders are very busy, and you would hardly get 30 minutes of their time in a month. So how do you leverage this process to still help them participate meaningfully and then get their buy-in on the next step? I'm not saying you do this and it's guaranteed success, but I would say uh, it's a more sort of tangible way of trying to win the business trust.
Yeah, we've talked about better decisions, better alignment internally, better alignment with the stakeholders of the team as well.
Yeah,
And just continuing that same thought process forward, I think it also creates better better alignment with the future members of the
yeah,
team. So it makes onboarding and just continuity of knowledge become easier over time. And I'll just talk about that a little bit more. That often one of the uh, uh, big struggles with teams is that when they are growing, when they have new people getting added to the team, the new folks take
mm,
a long time to get the context of what's going on here and what are we going after, and where have we been, especially that part, what have we explored so far, what decisions have we made, why have we dropped certain things, why have we adopted certain things. Those things are opaque to the new people who are joining in, and that can then limit their just their ability to influence what's going on today, and so on. And so with ADRs, when you have a set of ADRs that are lightweight and neatly capturing all the right details, and that are interlinked and searchable and accessible to the new team members as soon as they are getting started, then
mm,
as any of them come across a situation where they have to understand what's happening, or they have to make a decision, contribute to a decision, these ADRs that the team's written up in the past can become a great source of knowledge and context for the for the new people who are joining in, and based on that, then the new folks as well as the team collectively can then just be more able to make further decisions,
mm.
and without the risk of forgetting the past, and without the risk of repeating the mistakes from the past. So that's a big advantage, and I think, like you were touching upon this in an earlier episode, that with ADRs, when you have this kind of confidence that we have good, we like, with the coding analogy, if you have code which is backed by lots of good tests, and if you have clean code, then you'd feel confident about adding new people to the team, because you feel,
Yeah,
you know that they'll be able to understand and become productive on this code base relatively quickly. But then, so you're trying to apply the same kind of principle to architectural decision making as well. That if your architectures is neatly and the evolution of it is neatly captured in these areas, then it becomes easier for you to get more people onboarded, and you can just generally be bullish about adding new people and giving them significant responsibilities early on, because you know that there is that they have this support of all the ADRs that you have built up uh, in the past.
Yeah,
So that's a big benefit.
truly
And
agree.
then finally, Chan's, let's talk about how the presence of ADRs allow the team to evolve the system and the design and the architecture
Mm.
continuously over time. How does it help with continuous evolution?
Yeah. I think it may seem obvious, Chirag, uh, but maybe it is not obvious. If you look at a typical software development lifecycle, SDLC, as we call it, there are no formal gates like a waterfall that you go from one step to the other. There is usually iteration, and then it's almost like self-contained. You will start with analysis, then design, then testing, then coding, then deployment, and so on. But it happens continuously, and it's always evolving. Why? Because software components or the software landscape is quite fluid. Like here, innovation and also choices happen very frequently compared to other industries. And secondly, the business priorities keeps changing because it's not always we wouldn't know what we'll do for the next 5 to 10 years. So people pivot often. So that way, we talk about evolutionary architecture, evolutionary design. So I would say people should think about evolutionary decisions as well via ADRs. Yeah, if you're investing in ADRs and if you're making one-off isolated decisions and just recording it and it's not accessible, searchable, or maintained, then it maybe checks one box, but you're not fully unlocking the power that you have from it. It's similar to documentation. Some teams do documentation when people are moving out, so that you effectively capture the knowledge of that person, but it's very inefficient, and that transfer has a lot of impedance, and it's not a priority, and it's never done well. What if documentation is lightweight and always evolving? So similarly, I would suggest, and based on my experience, claim that yeah, if you have lightweight maintained records, they're a good reference for going back to what you did. They're a good reference to learn from and not to repeat mistakes. Like if you look at an example, right? People generally look at a legacy system, and let's say they want to break down a monolith into fancy microservices, and then microservices come in. People are happy for 6 months, then they realize the cost of maintaining them, or probably that level of loose coupling was not actually required for their business services. Then they go back one step to do a distributed monolith. Yeah, maybe I'm not saying don't do it, but even if you've done this, if you had a record of going from step 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 in the future, whichever step you take, four or back to one, you would have a reference to look.
Yeah, so in a way, it comes back to the first advantage that we talked about, the bit about better decision making. So presence of
Yeah.
these ADRs from the past are going to increase the chances of the team just armed with better context about what we've tried in the past and how it has worked and what is the data behind it, so that then the decisions that we are making today, they are likely
Mm.
to just be better because of all that context being taken into consideration while making further decisions.
Yeah.
All right, so that's our take on the benefits of adopting ADRs. It helps in making better decisions. It helps in creating better alignment within the team. It helps in
Mm.
creating alignment and trust between the team and the stakeholders. It helps with making onboarding easier and more effective, and it then helps with continuous evolution of the system and the technical decisions further. So just there are a bunch of good things that you get when you adopt ADRs. So we highly recommend it. And in the next episode, we'll talk about some common pitfalls. I mean, since some of this is easier said than done, you can get a several of these benefits, but you have to also do it right. So in the next episode, we'll talk about what are some common pitfalls that people and teams might fall into as they are adopting or implementing ADRs, and what are some tips that we have that might come in handy as you are trying to do it right. So see you then. Bye bye.
See you. Bye.